Hey guys, welcome to section 6, chapter 3 of the geometry program. And in this video, we are going to talk about the slopes of parallel and perpendicular lines. We are not going to be graphing them because our focus in this course is not necessarily the graphing like we did in the algebra course, but we're really going to have to be able to identify slopes, types of slopes, and be able to identify and write parallel and perpendicular lines. Okay, so remember that parallel lines have the same slope. All right, and there's two ways that we can evaluate this. So if we're looking at a graph, we can check the rise over run and make sure that each of these is going up at the same rate, right? Remember, slope equals rise over run. And we want those two things to be the same, and then we would know that they're parallel. So if each one had a slope of 1/2, then we know that the lines are parallel. However, if one was 1/2 and one was 3/2, then those are not parallel, meaning that they're going to cross at some point, right? Okay, and then the other way that we can identify parallel lines is through the equation y equals mx plus b. So m represents that slope, right? So if you're looking at two equations and you get them in y-intercept form and you evaluate their slopes and the slopes are the same, then we know that there are parallel lines. All right, so we're going to put this all together for you when the directions are going to ask you to write an equation of the parallel line through a particular point given an equation. So let's say we have an equation 6x minus 10y equals -5. They give us the point -5, 3, and we are to write the equation parallel to the given line. All right, so there's several steps here that we need to go through. The first is we need to take the equation that we have, put it in y-intercept form, and find out what the slope is. All right, so we're going to do that. We're going to move 6x to the other side. Then we're going to divide both sides by -10. And we're going to simplify this thing. So this becomes a positive 3/5 x plus 1/2. Now we can identify the slope. The slope is always the coefficient of the x, so our slope is 3/5. Now they also give us a point. So now that we have a point and a slope, we can use the point slope form equation and write our new equation. So y minus y1, which is 3, equals the slope, which is 3/5, x minus a -5, which gives me a +5. All right, now we got to do a little algebra here to distribute this. Now, 3/5 times 5, you guys probably don't remember. This is 15 over 5, which reduces to 3. All right, now we're going to add 3 to both sides and get 6. All right, so that is the equation that is parallel to this given line through this point. All right, and the key here is the slope. We need the slope to be the same. All right, parallel ones are really easy. It's the perpendicular ones that can kind of get us, right? So let's say that we're supposed to write a line that's perpendicular. If you remember, perpendicular lines have negative reciprocal slopes. What does that mean? So if the given slope is 2, then the perpendicular slope is going to be -1/2. So you have to change the sign and flip the number. So we assume that this is 2 over 1. So if we had the slope 3/4, then the perpendicular slope would be -4/3. thirds. All right, one more. If you're given this slope -4, then the perpendicular slope is going to be a positive 1/4. So if it's not a fraction, you can just put it over 1. Flip it and take the negative. All right, so let's say that we want to write an equation for a line that's perpendicular to the line 3x plus 2y equals -6 and passes through the point 3, 2. So we want to write a perpendicular. All right, so the same steps as before with the parallel, we have to move this equation around for the y-intercept form so that we can identify the slope. So I'm going to do that by moving 3x to the other side. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 2. Now I can identify my slope here as m is -3/2. Okay, but they asked me for the perpendicular. So the perpendicular slope is the negative reciprocal of that. So we're going to flip it over and change the sign. This is the new slope that I need. Now they also give me the point. Now that I've made the right adjustments for the slope, I have my point, I can use point-slope form to write my equation. So y minus 2 equals my slope of 2/3, x minus 3. Y minus 2 equals 2/3 x. And then here we are again, 2/3 times a -3 over 1. It's going to give me a -2. All right, now I need to add 2 to both sides. And I get +0 there. And here is the line that is perpendicular to the given line and also runs through this point. Okay, let's do another perpendicular one. Those I feel like can be tricky. All right, so let's say we have the given line, -x plus y equals 0, and the point is -2, -1. We want to write the equation for the line that's perpendicular to this line. Perpendicular to the line. All right, first thing we're going to do is put this in y-intercept form. And right now you might be a little bit like, well, what do we do with this? We could even put a +0 if that makes you feel better. But sometimes the more simplified these equations are, the more we kind of get lost. All right, this is still in the form y equals mx plus b, even if b is 0. What's my coefficient here? If there's none there, we assume that it's 1. So the slope of this line is 1. Now I need the perpendicular slope. Well, I have to take 1 over 1 and flip it, which just gives me 1. And I need to change the sign. So the perpendicular slope that I need is -1. Now we can plug this in. Y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. And I can use my point. Y minus y1 is actually going to be +1 because of the -1 there. -1 for my slope here, x plus 2. There's a lot of negatives. You need to be really careful here. All right, then y plus 1 equals, let's distribute this negative. And then I need to subtract 1 to solve this thing for y. And I don't remember if they ask you to graph any of these. I don't think that they do, but based on our practice yesterday, I think you should be good. All right, so steps to solving these. Rearrange given line into y-intercept form. Then you need to identify the slope. Let's see, then if you're dealing with parallel lines, keep slope the same or make the negative reciprocal for the perpendicular. Then use point slope form to write new equation and then simplify. Those are your steps. All right, you guys, I hope that that was a little bit of review and not new information, but go ahead and finish up your notes, read through the examples, and begin your assignment.